A single good review could add $1,000 a year in revenue to your law firm. Welcome to the Lawyer Millionaire, where we deliver financial and business insights to growing law firm owners so they can go from grind to greatness. When clients are searching for an attorney, they still go to Google. Mastering your local SEO strategy isn't just helpful, it's essential. And what about those reviews? They could be your greatest asset or your biggest liability if not handled well. Today, we're joined by the amazing Seth Price, someone who not only started, grew, and scaled a law firm, but also founded the company Blue Shark Digital, a recognized leader in digital marketing for law firms. All right, Seth, we're super excited that you're here today. You've got a lot of expertise to share with us. I want to kick it off with a really controversial question, and that is SEO dead or dying?
So for as long as I've been doing this, and I've been in the legal space as a B2C business owner and agency owner for 10 plus years, been going to SEO conferences for more than 2 decades. The topic of SEO is dead, long live SEO has been on the agenda more times than I can count on my hands. In one sense, SEO is constantly evolving, but as of right now, the ROI that you can get from SEO and particularly local search is exponentially better than just about any other marketing spend that can be done if you're in the B2C world.
Wow. Okay, so not dying. It's still very much alive.
Very much alive. And look, it's evolving. And are there things we don't know? We saw AI pop up. Okay. Are people going to abandon Google and just go to ChatGPT for their searches? Well, people go to ChatGPT, but Google put Gemini up. And I could say that I'm loving it. I love the fact that when I search for something, I'm getting answers. That's awesome. And we've seen some data. We've internally seen lots of data that shows that search traffic to websites has taken a bit of a dip, but monetizable traffic really hasn't. So as an SEO, it can be frustrating because clients love the pound your chest. Oh, I'm getting this much traffic and that's awesome. And what Google is saying is, whoa, yes, you have information, but we're going to take that information in the form of AI and put that as a result up front. So over time, will there be more places that people go to make buying decisions than just Google? I am sure. Will it evolve and continue to evolve? Absolutely. You never know if you're at that taxi Uber moment, but as of right now, we are still seeing when people want to buy, they're going to search and local search. If anything, we've seen traditional SEO, as I mentioned with traffic dipping, take a hit, and it's harder to do certain national plays. But for local search, Google really loves the interface of the map pack with reviews and everything else. And so that local interface giving people results that are relevant. And remember, particularly for Google, that local Google Business Profile interface is something they control. So whereas you have your own website, and I'm sure the Lawyer Millionaire has its own website, but as a local player, most of your clients have a Google Business Profile. It's almost like a second website. And so the SEO is significant because it helps make sure that Google Business Profile is relevant for local searches. And yes, there is still search traffic coming. So it is evolving, but certainly not dead.
Okay. So what is the most powerful thing right now? Is it the local search? Is that where the magic is right now?
Right now, for local B2C players, absolutely. If you're, for example, a national player, you help lawyers all over the country with their needs. That can be a little daunting because, in theory, you don't have a local advantage anywhere. You could put offices. You might open hypothetically in New York and LA and a Miami office and demonstrate some locality. So you get 2 bites at the apple. But it would be pretty daunting trying to compete in financial services nationally and probably not, and you're sort of the ultimate B2B player. So as I've been saying over and over again, B2C versus B2B, most B2B people that I meet, particularly your avatar clients, if they're a B2B civil litigator, in-house GC, my attitude is SEO is not the first thing you want to be doing, which may be odd coming from a guy who has 300 SEO clients. But I'm like, no, don't do SEO first. First, Do you have season tickets to something? Do you have a membership at a local, university or dining club? Do you have a podcast, or are you doing a breakfast meeting that brings business leaders together? What are you doing on the B2B side? For somebody who's even smaller, if they had, let's say you were hypothetically only doing financial services for family lawyers, then you'd want to basically target those people as specifically as possible. Whereas for somebody who's doing anything nationally, it's a very different case. That's why on a local level, the local interface that Google gives us has been a godsend and is extremely powerful. And yes, they keep slicing away, first paid search, then paid, leads and LSAs. And now it has pushed organic search further and further down. Yes. And the traffic has taken a hit. But when it comes to buying, people are still either using the local interface, which is getting even more powerful, or the organic is there. And if there, you said is it dead or dying, there has definitely been hits to vanity searches from an organic point of view, but that the play of organic and local together has still produced dramatic dividends.
Okay. Wow. So the local search is what's really helping. Like we hear all the time the question of how do you compete against the big firms, right? The big names. But I guess the local search gives you that avenue because you can really stand out based on your distance and your geography, right?
Absolutely. And your niche. We talked before we went on air about niche. So if somebody has a specific niche, let's say, again, if you're doing car accidents and Morgan's your market, that's going to be hyper competitive. But if you're doing trust and estates, you all of a sudden have an advantage because many of the other people in that space aren't. They're playing the referral game. You would have the advantage playing the local search game. If you are playing, let's say in the personal injury space, and Morgan has offices downtown, can you find areas of the suburbs? Can you find geography which is not saturated by a major player? And that I call it, like if you're a fan of baseball, the book or movie Moneyball, where you're trying to find the most population with the least competition and using that as your competitive advantage to get enough eyeballs, traffic, and revenue from local search.
Okay. Cool. Well, maybe we'll open a New York office, something like
Right.
that.
And so look, in your world, you don't have the issue of, I can't have 20 lawyers in a market. That would be bad form. But for you, nobody's going to care. If you're making money for one person and helping them figure out how to get their business ready for sale, they're not going to care if 5 of their competitors are also making money through their financial. The level of competitiveness usually stops at financial services. So yes, you could go to a market where, hey, there are a gazillion lawyers in the New York area. And if you are marketing yourself as the financial services person for lawyers, now the issue is that where people are going for that buying decision? If so, it would be genius because tons of eyeballs, nobody else is fighting for that. UBS is not targeting this. Goldman Sachs is not targeting this. You're going to have a blue ocean when it comes to financial services for small and medium-sized law firms.
Well, don't tell anyone yet, Seth. But along this line of blue ocean, do you see a lot of opportunity in local search? I mean, I just, from my own perspective, when I get on Google Maps and I'm looking for businesses, I see so many listings that are done terribly, right? There's no information, there's one review, there's no website linked. Tell me about
Right. Well,
that.
look. So in the legal space, you don't see as much of that, but yes, you're answering your question with the point, which is yes, lots of room in the legal space. The gig is up, and people have websites attached, and they have more than one review. But reviews are extremely powerful. I talk about that a lot nationally, and I think lawyers should ignore that at their peril. It's the currency that people use. You just sort of acknowledge you go there. Part of the reason you're going there is some part of social proof. We do it when we do vacations, maybe on TripAdvisor. You do it for restaurants, whether Google or Yelp or whatever your demographic is using. But that is huge. And what I would say is I now have a theory that each review left, ideally good reviews, not bad reviews. That's a whole nother topic we talk about. But assuming you have good sausage making, the product that you're producing is good, right? And that you are doing work and have a machine to let people know that this is important to you by sending links out, et cetera, that if you're doing all of that, each review in my estimation, is worth $1,000 of gross revenue annually. It's that and growing. If you get
Wow.
100 reviews for your law firm, I got to say that's worth at least $100,000. God forbid you got 1,000 reviews, that's worth $1 million. And when I say worth, I mean, this is gross top line revenue, but that if you're again, and then you have to be smart about it. Like obviously if you're doing PI and there's 6 people with 1,000 reviews in the market already, then you might want to make sure you put it using those reviews smartly and making sure you're using them strategically, but that those reviews are extremely powerful towards driving revenue and making sure that a great SEO strategy is melded with a great review strategy. And if you do one and not the other, it is not nearly as powerful. We can do all the work in the world, but if we have a guy that's 3 reviews and one's a 1-star, that's a terrible user experience. At the same time, if there are people with tons of reviews and crappy SEO and Google's choosing not to show them. And so you need to figure out what can you do that demonstrates social proof while at the same time not ignoring the best practices that Google wants to show authority digitally.
Wow. That's fascinating. So we've got to get the reviews, number one, and you give us a great argument for why each review is worth a lot. What are some best practices when it comes to reviews and making sure that we're getting them and, should we be responding to them? Tell us about that.
Sure. First is have a process, just like everything, right? You in coming on this podcast, right? You reached out, you did it. You sort of said it's going to be do you have availability for this date? You were not integral to it. I'm sure you had an assistant that was helping with it. I had an assistant and it happened. I would say, if you need 100 reviews for your firm, it's not going to happen just yourself. You're going to need to bring your staff into it. And I say the first thing is letting everybody know that it's important to you. That's first and foremost. Second is making sure there is a plan and procedure and that you don't ignore it. As the business owner, as the CEO, ignore it at your peril. You can delegate tasks in it, sure, but they need to know what's important to you and incentivized, meaning if they are doing work that they're being judged and their KPIs don't include reviews, likely they're not going to focus on reviews. So making sure that that's part of your KPIs, make sure it's part of there and continue to tweak. There's no magic formula. You can't say, do it this way, it's going to work. If something works, then it stops working, then you try it differently. True for myself. We tried some tap cards where you could give it to employees so that when they see a client, they tap their phone and all of a sudden it pops up. That's awesome. Well, that worked for a quarter and then people forgot about their tap cards. So we need to continuously evolve, find different things, see what works, see what doesn't work, and do it. As far as negative reviews, which I think you're sort of talking about responding, because respond to good reviews, yes, and let people know that you love them and rah, rah, rah. But what's much more challenging is what do you do when you get a negative review? And there are a couple things. One bad review, it's going to happen to everybody, right? I'm sure even the millionaire lawyers had some unhappy client at some point. If they were with you during the financial downturns, they're not as happy as they were when they're high-fiving the stock market's going up day after day, right? So that's A. B, it's having a process there as well. When a bad review comes in, first you want to check out, hey, if there are a bunch of them, maybe your sausage making has something to be desired. Maybe the person you have, working the clients administratively isn't doing the job they need to. So first, checking that out. Second, when you do it, my belief is there should be a process to reach out to somebody. So if God forbid the millionaire lawyer had an unhappy client and you were able to sort of say, hey, what's going on? And they're saying, you know what? I tried to reach you, but your phones weren't being answered. And you're like, oh my God, the voice over IP was broken, and you can fix it and get that client, use it as an opportunity to get better. Sometimes it's the ship has sailed and you just want to say you're sorry. But there are other times when the person's like, oh, I didn't realize you were away on vacation. I'm so sorry. I know how important that was. This really wasn't urgent. I was getting crazy. And then they take it down. So having a personal having a discussion, figuring out what's wrong, sometimes just something as much as I'm sorry, or what just listening to somebody can make a huge difference. And then, if all else fails, or if it's somebody you don't know, because very often it's an anonymous or a made up name, respond thoughtfully. Because just like when you're looking for a hotel, if you see people that are upset because there was some issue with their non-refundability policy, well, it's not good to see a negative review. You don't really care. If it's a question of bed bugs all over the property, that's much more important. So what the negative is about and how you respond. If somebody responded with, "Hey, you wouldn't give me a refund for the trip." And you said you had a 30% discount because you had a prepaid reservation. That's how our economics work. And that was part of our deal. That's going to resonate. And when somebody looks at it, they're like, yeah, I get it. And it ameliorates the sting of that negative review. So I think first is to do the best job you can. Second is to figure out if there's something you could do to make that experience better. And then finally, it's to reply thoughtfully. For lawyers, which I know is your demographic, yeah, I would say the first thing to do is to wait. We all are, by going to law school, we're aggressive, we're hot-headed by nature. Wait 24 hours, don't blow up the world. As you know, you don't want to, somebody who's already upset with you, don't want to poke them further. And you still have bar responsibilities. So you want to make sure that you're in a position where you don't do anything that's going to harm your ability to deal with, you don't want your bar license in jeopardy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really great advice, Seth. That I actually have that rule for myself. So I call it the 24-hour rule. If somebody is upset about something or frustrated, I give myself some space and some time, just because I know I'm a human being, and if somebody's responding aggressively to me, that might trigger me. I give myself a little bit of time to respond to that. And talking about reviews, many people may not know that negative reviews can be changed. This happened to me some time ago. I think it was Chick-fil-A. I don't even remember what. I left them a bad review for some reason. I don't even remember what it was. But the owner, and this just goes to Chick-fil-A's culture, right?
Right.
The owner reached out to me and was like, hey, sorry, whatever happened. Would you be willing to, change this, blah, blah, blah. And I was,
That's my case in point. You did.
that's all it took. It's just something somebody.
Somebody was saying, I hear you. I got it. Look, I'm with my parents in New York. I just ordered Uber Eats for breakfast from a special place. They left out half the order, including my mom and dad's actual order itself, so that we sort of cobbled together what came. And it was able to, through their bot, they were like, yep, refund the entire order. Wasn't even close. It wasn't like, hey, you got half of it. And it changes the perception. I'll be back to paying massive markups for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Well, I love that. Seth, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to, start Blue Shark Digital? You've got an amazing story.
Yeah, thank you. So I was essentially a lawyer who loved tinkering with stuff. I had been part of the first .com bubble when the internet first came on the scene in the 90s, late 90s. I was a founding employee at uslaw.com. And that was sort of a precursor to FineLaw and what's now LegalZoom.
Yeah.
And when the bubble burst in was it April of 2000, by January 2001, the world was just a mess. Amazon stock was in the toilet. The only things that survived were like Google and Yahoo and eBay and a few other things. It was a pretty rough period. Reinvented myself with a law firm, decided to divide and conquer. My law partner, Dave Benowitz, great trial lawyer, teaches at Harvard Law. I was in charge of the operations and marketing and loved the web, and stopped going to legal conferences and started going to SEO conferences and learned that really well. Built our own team to like 20-25 lawyers. And then about 10 years ago, celebrating our 10th year, took our then marketing manager, David Britton, and basically created what is now Blue Shark Digital, which now represents about 300 law firms nationwide, trying to replicate what we did for Price Benowitz using local search. We're way ahead of the curve on that, making sure the best practices of SEO are there so that when you wake up in the morning, you're not in a position where you get wiped off the map. Doing things the way Google wants them, following the algorithm, doing everything we can in order to get clients the best possible results. That's the game we've played.
That's awesome. What a great story. So you've been in both worlds, the world of running and building a law practice and also the world of digital marketing. And you were very forward thinking. I mean, to getting involved in SEO way back, after the tech bubble, That was really a bold move and a great move.
Well,
Absolutely.
you could say that. You look at it which way, or like, what the hell else are you going to do, right? The world, my whole world had collapsed. It was,
Yeah.
that did not seem like it was there. And so, in essence, I went back to the fundamentals of how do you connect. When I started, there were lawyers that marketed, but generally they were the worst of the worst. And so it was rare that you had great legal acumen melded with marketing. That was a game changer at the time. We started with criminal, moved into PI, now family and trust and estates, but we're able to do so because we were delivering excellent product. It's not easy. Even with excellent product, there's still problems, but it made it a lot more enjoyable. I just sort of like as an SEO, I enjoy a lot more when we have a firm that does great work rather than somebody who's like, get me the clients and we'll figure it out. There's plenty of room for that. But I
Yeah.
prefer it when when you get it and the clients are finding the person who is the ideal person to solve their problem. That's what brings me the greatest joy.
I love that. Fantastic. Seth, one last question for you. What are you reading right now?
The book Unreasonable Hospitality has been my sort of favorite of late. Buy Back Your Time has been, they're talking about in the last
Yes.
year is awesome, and Dan Martell's videos online are inspiring. But
Yep.
I grew up a handful of blocks from 11 Madison. Not that I actually dined there, although if you read the book, he started out, there was a sister restaurant next door, a high-end Indian restaurant, Tabla, and then in front of that was a place, the Bread Basket, which was the inexpensive casual portion of this restaurant. And I used to go there after Ultimate Frisbee in Central Park and have a beverage and a piece of roti with some excellent tikka masala. So when I got to meet the author of Unreasonable Hospitality, shared that with him, as well as the fact that my job in high school, college summer was at American Festival Cafe, which is the skating rink in Rockefeller Center by winter. And by summer, it's a tourist trap restaurant. And I believe what he told me was his dad, the author of Unreasonable Hospitality, was the GM of that restaurant when I worked there as a waiter over the summer.
Oh wow, that's incredible. Yeah, I devoured Dan Martell's book. I haven't read Unreasonable Hospitality yet, but I've heard a lot of people talking about that, and so that is definitely on my list as well. I don't know if you know this, Seth, but we have a book club, the Lawyer Millionaire Book Club, and right now we're reading The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. So if you want to get in on the book club discussions, you're more than welcome to join. It's free to any law firm owners. We're just having a good time with that, and I'm really excited to see where that goes. Well, Seth, thank you so much for joining us today. Is there one last takeaway for 2025 that you want to leave our audience with?
No, just did like with doing this today is sort of an example. Somebody calls you out of the blue, take a shot. I'm a big fan of going and meeting people in person. I probably attend
Yeah,
more conferences than 99% of other lawyers, and I love it. I love the interaction. But the next best thing is meeting people that you might be in tangential circles and getting to know them. So what I would say is don't be completely be strategic, but take a shot every once in a while when somebody knocks on the door, and you never know where that's going to go.
I love that. And Seth, if people want to find you, where should they go?
I'm all over socials. I got a podcast myself, the Law Firm Blueprint, which is me and my buddy Jay Ruane. We do sort of a discussion back and forth about what it takes to grow a law firm, what we're dealing with, and bring on guests. We had coaches at the end of 24. We're now doing AI thought leaders starting off 25. So I really like that. Anywhere on social, spend a lot of time on Facebook, connect with me there, LinkedIn, or just stalk me one way or the other. I love to talk about this stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth.
Thank you so much.
Huge thank you to Seth for joining us today and sharing his invaluable insights on local SEO, the power of reviews, and actionable strategies for law firm growth. If you want to learn more about Seth and his work with Blue Shark Digital, visit bluesharkdigital.com or check out the links in our show notes. The key takeaway from today's episode is that local SEO and online reviews are two of the most powerful tools for attracting clients. Still, focus on building a steady flow of positive reviews, and I'm reminding myself of this as well, responding to every review, good or bad, with professionalism and care. It's a small effort, and it could pay massive dividends. At the Lawyer Millionaire, we're all about helping you grow your business while building personal financial freedom. And marketing is a critical piece of that puzzle. Today's insights from Seth show just how impactful it can be when done right. If you're ready to take your business growth to the next level, we would love to help. Join our free community, the Lawyer Millionaire Network and Book Club, where we connect ambitious law firm owners like you to resources, strategies, and support. Or let's jump on a call one-on-one, and I'll walk you through our one-page law firm growth plan. Well, this has been the Lawyer Millionaire Podcast. I'm your host, Darren Wirtz, here to help you go from grind to greatness. See you next time.